draws to a close. It started over the weekend, and the new threats coming from President Donald Trump. But now let's talk to the managing director of Optimus by Afri Investments, Dr. Ayodeji Ebo, to find out his findings and thoughts on all of this. Dr. Ebo, good morning and welcome to the program.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Great. So, I mean, BRICS did not start today, but it's always had its aim, which is, among other things, to wean the world or members off the dependence on the dollar. That's just one of it, but also to build a financial architecture that can take care of its needs, and they don't need to look, the way of the United States. But perhaps you can share with us what you think about this. Is it realistic in the world of today, especially in the world of Trump?
Okay, yes, thanks. And with your last phrase, the world of Trump, now most countries have begun to see that there is a need to reduce dependency on the US or on dollar because of a lot of the uncertainty that is going on and the policy inconsistency that we're seeing. So you would see when you look at the countries within the BRICS, Brazil, China, India, Russia, and South Africa. And I think there's some other, Iran, and in recent times, Iran, I think the other 5 countries that just joined. The idea is to see how they can reposition those countries to reduce dependence on the US. But I would say that it's not going to be immediate, or it's not going to have an immediate impact, but it's going to be gradual. Because when you look at the current data, when the global reserves, about 60% are kept in dollars across, and you look at trade invoicing, is estimated to around 80%. Most trades are still done in dollars, but there's a need to have like an alternative. So we saw some countries when the Russia-Ukraine war started, a lot of countries that were dependent on Russia now they had to begin to look at what are the alternative for them in terms of power, gas, and the like. So what I think is happening is that the position, the size of the BRICS, when you look at their trades, is still relatively small. Or even you compare it to the World Bank, there's this new development bank that was set up and trying to set up infrastructure fund of about $30 billion. That is still small in the scheme of things compared to what the World Bank, the IMF have. So it's still going to continue to push to try, but I don't see it having any major impact on the US or reducing the dependence for now.
Because they've also talked about, members using domestic currency to trade instead of going through the dollar and all of that. You don't see that as something that can happen at this time?
No, I think that it would definitely be an improvement. So we're already seeing those trade ties. So you see Russia, China, given what Donald Trump is doing around the tariff war. So you would see those alliances come up where most of the Chinese economy would also be open to see how they can partner with the Africans or members of the BRICS, such that it can strengthen its own currency. You see, for China, the yuan, Russia, the ruble, they've been able to see how they want to, when you are trying to pay them, they insisted during the thick of the war then that even to pay in gas must be paid in their currency and not in the US currency. So those are some of the strategy that they would adopt, but I see that it's still not going to have as much impact. It's over time, because the US too is also mindful. We saw when the trade or the tariff, if I put it that the tariff then was introduced when President Donald Trump saw the likely impact even on some of the companies, that he had to first of all relax it, and over time is also trying to look at it on a one-on-one basis. So they also need the world to survive. So it's really going to be a mutual discussion that would ensure that trades are not, they are not secluded or ring fenced out of other countries.
So you don't think this extra 10% tariff threat that he's giving to any association or associates with BRICS, you don't think he will push through?
I feel he will be very careful. We saw how he was able to maybe mediate and find like a middle ground even with China. Because when he saw their importance, yes, it looked at it was really very tough at the time based on the communication or based on the news. But over time, there was a dialogue, there was a discussion. So I don't see him just slamming just 10% across, because you have China, you have Iran, you have India.
India,
These are
yeah.
also major economies
Okay.
that if you decide to slam that and they decide not to also patronize you, it would also impact on the companies that export to some of these countries. So I feel that, yes, we'll be hearing a lot of the threats. And if you understand Donald Trump, most times you also don't react immediately based on some of the statements that he makes at times. But you also need to just look at what are your own strengths and have your scenario planning in case if actually he goes ahead with some of his threats or plans.
And then we have the Nigeria scenario. So we know President Tinubu is there. He was invited. He's a visitor. Nigeria is not yet a member of BRICS. Where does that put us as a country amidst President Tinubu says, of course, everybody's supporting AFCFTA at this time. They want AU to come as one front, as Africa, in the midst of negotiations, whether it's with President Trump or any other, or even with BRICS. Africa is coming as one front. At least that's what they're planning to do. So where is Nigeria's position, and where should Nigeria be amidst all of it?
Yeah, so I think that first of all, Alika, our presence will show that we are not biased. We also support not just the Western allies, we also support the non-Western allies. And the opportunity that I feel that may also help us is also diversification to access of funds. You know, like the new development bank that's been set up, the opportunity that that also presents beyond just relying on the IMF and the World Bank, it may also come with less maybe stringent conditions to access some of those funds. Yes, in life, there's always the risk that may also come with some decisions. The risk is that maybe Trump, for instance, may see that Nigeria, you're trying to align with some of those he doesn't want, it doesn't actually align with, and slam a tariff into on Nigeria. But the truth is that we may also find alternative countries to supply also some of those items. And you would see that some countries may even come forward to come up, like China, India, that if they are also able to produce some of the items that we also need from them. So I think by and large, that is also good to be seen that we align with all, because we are still emerging, we are still developing, and we're taking a side right now when it won't also be seen or appropriate for us to be seen as taking a side.
Jabo, thank you so much for sharing your perspective with us this morning. Managing Director of Optimus by AfriInvest. Thank you, sir.
Always my pleasure. Thank you.